What's up, guys? We are Lore Heroes, and we're back again for another video. But before we get into anything, I just want to say thank you so much for elevating our videos to 700 views. We never thought we'd ever get that high. Thank you for making us kind of sort of popular on the internet. We love you for it. And before we get into any of the content, I just want to say if you have any topic about any video game or book even, I like reading books. Tell us what you want to discuss in the comment section. We will buy a game. I will buy a book. He's illiterate, but
I'll watch TV and movies. I can do Game of Thrones, Walking Dead. I can read comic books.
we want to branch out, guys. But anyway,
We really want to branch out. And if you have any suggestions at all, we'd love to take them. And if you want us to do a video about a video game that we've already done, we'd love to do more videos because we love to do this. This is one of our favorite things to do, honestly. Like today, for instance. Like last week we did, or not last week. Last 4 months ago, last couple months ago, we did a video and it got really popular. It's our most popular video, which was kind of surprising to us, but we're very grateful. Over 700 views as we're speaking. It was an argument video about Dragon Age, which we both played. We both loved it. And today we decided to do another one, this time over Dragon Age Origins. Not as up-to-date as Inquisition, but we still love it the same. We wanted to talk about how was Loghain right to leave the Battle of Ostagar? We want to talk about Loghain and whether or not he was right.
And today I will be arguing that Loghain was not right in retreating the field at Ostagar.
And today I want to say that he was right. He made the right call to retreat.
Why was he right?
Best case scenario, what happens if he goes in there?
Best case scenario, King Cailan lives, not leaves. King Cailan lives, Duncan lives, and together they are better able to organize a defense of Ferelden than the hero of Ferelden and Alistair.
In what world do you see Cailan thinking to himself, after winning a battle, him thinking to himself, hey, I should go get reinforcements? He's not that kind of guy. He's going to stick with his troops. He wants all the glory for himself.
Well, he is all about the glory, unfortunately. We learned that after having a couple conversations with him. He's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy.
Well, he's a nice guy.
That's
why he deserves to be king.
He wants his name in the history books, and you know what? I think he'd be okay with being in the history books for defeating a blight.
And you know what? I don't think he's going to want any help at all to defeat that blight.
You don't think so?
I think if he had that chance, he could have went to the dwarves originally. He could have went to the dwarves. Could have found the elves. Well, he couldn't have no chance in hell with the elves side with just a straight up human. But he could have went to them. He could have brought all the mages down instead of probably 30 maybe he brought.
But you're forgetting the point. Only the Gray Wardens can beat the Archdemon. Now, the Archdemon didn't show up at Ostagar, but the Gray Wardens had a feeling that an Archdemon was leading the Horde. Now, it's kind of hard to base your military tactics on feeling, which is why Cailan wasn't taking this whole blight thing seriously at first, and he ended up dying because of it. God bless your soul, Cailan.
Rest in peace, Cailan. We'll always remember you. I liked Cailan. He was cool. I missed him.
But anyway, Duncan would have been the man to organize the defense. He had the Grey Warden treaties for the dwarves, elves, mages. Hopefully, Duncan would have been able to scrape together a better defense.
Who knows? Duncan. I don't want to play in maybes here, but Duncan could have still died. Or he might not have died, I suppose, so I can't really make that argument. If they had went in, sure, let's say Duncan lives. Duncan and Cailan both live. The initial force, the humans, take a devastating blow. All of their entire forces that are there at the battle, fighting a fraction of the Darkspawn. Because we know that wasn't all the Darkspawn.
I will concede that point to you. They were outnumbering us, and the Darkspawn Horde it's a horde. It's almost unlimited numbers from what we've seen and what we know through the lore. And hopefully, I'm hoping that we would lose less than half the force. But
hopefully we'd lose less than half.
If we're talking about tangibles and best case scenario, we'd lose less than half. Let's say it's worst case scenario when Loghain rushes in.
We lose Duncan, we lose Cailan, we probably lose Loghain.
Perhaps, and that would, if Loghain was gone, would it be such a bad thing? Who would the people of Ferelden rally around? Perhaps the King of Redcliffe.
If Loghain left, maybe someone else would have rose to power. Maybe not, I suppose. I guess if Loghain died, things would have gone possibly better.
I'm forgetting Anora.
Anora would have had complete control, undoubtedly. But Honora was a qualified leader. She would have been able to handle it. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about worst case scenario, we lose a huge human force. They probably won't be able to recover from that. Who knows how many houses were there? We know Redcliffe wasn't. That's really the only place we know wasn't there.
High Ever's auxiliary force was
High Ever's most forces were there, and the auxiliary forces were dead. Howe's men weren't. They were too busy taking care of the auxiliary forces. So who knows who was there? Maybe the entire army, except for Redcliffe, Howe, and the High Ever auxiliary forces. That's a huge majority of...
You're forgetting the Templars weren't there.
The Templars were there. The Templars don't fight wars; they jail mages. Not jail.
Do you think the Templars? Do you think the Templars would step up in Ferelden's time of need? No, I give that to you.
You know what? You haven't played Dragon Age 2 yet, which he hasn't. Don't hate him for it. In Dragon Age 2, we see the Templars step up. We see them step up. We see them take control of a city and put it under martial law, practically. Okay, we don't want the Templars to step up. They get power hungry.
You don't want Templars to do that.
I mean, obviously these Templars might not, but it's still a thing of they do what the Chantry says. I don't think the Chantry, if the Chantry calls for the Blights to be dealt with, then Orlais is going to play a much bigger part in this.
Okay, so let's move to my next point.
Okay, what's your point?
So Loghain retreated. He backed out of the battle plan,
saving all of his men and women. All of his soldiers.
However, I think if Loghain would have charged down the hill, he would have been able to save a larger force on the front line. You don't understand how being mobile and outmaneuvering and using tactics to your advantage, you don't know how big of an advantage that gives you.
I've played StarCraft. I know how tactics work.
And you always lose to the Zerg Rush, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I'm always the Zerg Rush. So I always win with the Zerg Rush. Anyway, besides that, the tactics could have helped. True. But a majority of the forces would have gotten the Blight. They would have had to been dealt with. They would have had to have either died and maybe become Gray Wardens, though that sounds unlikely.
Yeah, and with the Warden's current track record, about 50% of those people would die anyway.
Exactly. It's a thing of maybe they could have saved some lives. Maybe. But who knows how many lives he's saved by not going there. Also, Loghain could have died himself. Cailan was dead. I think it's safe to say Cailan was going to die no matter what. That ogre was coming in. Even if the forces made it there in time, that ogre was not going to stop. Cailan and Duncan, I think, were both going to die.
You know what I find odd about that cutscene of the battle? Well, there were no mages on the front line. We saw mages at Ostagar preparing for battle.
I don't think mages would be on the front line.
They wouldn't be on the front lines, but they'd certainly be helping with longer medium-range artillery on the front.
I think mages back then were only used for healing. I don't mean back then. I think that was their main purpose, healing and support.
Okay, I'll give you that. Since Wynn was the main mage at Ostagar, and Wynn was a healing mage, I will concede that point to you.
So I think the mages were just there for healing, which, again, you're taking your most valuable weapon and not using it to its fullest extent. Terrible idea. And back to the assuming things. I think it's safe to assume Loghain and Cailan would have died. I mean, we don't know for sure, but I think that was their most likely outcome for them.
I really don't think Loghain would have died, actually. I'm going to change my best case scenario. I said my best case scenario would be King Cailan lives. I think, King Cailan probably would have died.
Yes.
Duncan, however...
Duncan would have taken revenge for King Cailan and he would have died.
Do you think Duncan would have died with Loghain charging in from the side?
I suppose maybe... I think Cailan was dead for sure. Loghain had a chance. And I guess Loghain was safe. Duncan had a chance, I suppose. Yes.
Okay.
I could see him living. Maybe the ogre gets distracted. Maybe someone helps.
That still reinforces my point. Honora is let's call her a bona fide ruler. No one's going to question her authority, really.
It's a thing of without Cailan, I think Loghain sees Honora as unfit to rule.
Yeah.
I think Loghain still would have went for a power grab. Who's going to stop him? Duncan? No, Duncan's not going to stop him. Duncan would gather the Wardens, and he'd probably go help the Wardens with their treaty thing. And honestly, though, that could be completely different. If Duncan was in charge, he might have made terrible choices. He might have... We don't know Duncan a whole lot.
He may have called the Wardens from Orlais, and that would have taken weeks, maybe months.
He might have done that. You know what? They might have gotten there in a month, because the Dragon Age Origins takes place over a year. So let's assume Orlais, it takes him a month, 2 months to get there. You know what's going to happen? Loghain's going to use all of his forces to fight the Orlesians because he hates the Orlesians with a passion because they took over Ferelden and he kicked them out. He kicked the Orlesians out. Duncan would have started the Civil War if he was alive. We can't say that for sure. That's a genuine possibility.
So that's a hypothetical. Duncan is calling the Orlesian Wardens,
and I think Orlais' forces would come.
Yeah, perhaps even the army of Orlais.
Yeah.
Loghain would have hated that idea, obviously.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting way to think about it.
See, now we're getting hypotheticals. Another thing, it's not Loghain retreated. It's not like he retreated just to leave everyone to die. He retreated to get everyone together to fight the Blight. He went there. The first thing we see, he got all the houses together and said, "Let's come together. We need to fight this Blight." He sent envoys to Orzammar to talk to the dwarves. Go like, "Hey, we need you guys to come help us." He didn't send any to the elves, obviously, because he couldn't. We're getting into some kind of bad territories, but he still did this for the benefit of the war. He sold elves into slavery to fund an army. He sold elves to fund an army. He poisoned a mage tower in order to get a strong army that's under him, though I think Uldred wasn't agreeing with that anyways. But still, he did that for the betterment. He wanted to kill the Blight. This all he did for Ferelden. He just went about it in the worst way imaginable.
Okay, if he actually was trying to defend Ferelden, why didn't he protect Lothering with his forces that he had withdrawn?
The forces, because he withdrew them. He knew his forces.
He withdrew from Ostagar.
He
why
withdrew
didn't he
his forces.
Lothering?
His forces, so you guys can see. These are Loghain's guys right here, and his head is Ostagar. Actually, no. His head is his hand are the forces, and his head is Lothering. Here they come. They can go to Lothering, but they're still the forces they had. Okay, they couldn't handle them at Ostagar, which is now here, and they won't be able to handle them up here at Lothering.
This is a wonderful map.
Yeah, I thought so too. Getting visuals, you know? This is good for the videos. We had like almost a green screen back there. We could have done something maybe. Almost. It's a white screen. That's almost possibly not a green screen. But it's still, he could have gone to Lothering. His forces would have been devastated because the entire horde went to Lothering. I think that's pretty much confirmed.
Okay, well, maybe he didn't have to defend it. Why didn't he leave troops to maybe facilitate an evacuation?
He had to focus all of his troops to get an army together.
Who sends an... Okay, that's like sending the entire U.S. Army to England asking them for help.
It's a thing.
You're saying you have to use all of your forces to go
Let's say there's a zombie
door?
apocalypse. Let's kind of put it into kind of real terms here. Not real into realistic things that happen. Into relatable terms. Zombie apocalypse. Are you going to leave any of your troops in the United States in order to save other people? Or are you going to get all your troops out of there in order to fight the zombies later on?
You know what I just realized? You're a complete utilitarian asshole.
I'm not a utilitarian asshole. I'm a utilitarian.
Okay.
You are...
Sorry.
I'm not a utilitarian. We had this argument, kind of.
At lunch.
Yes, at lunch. We eat together. We're best friends. Bro fist. Make it rain or not. Well, those people die for the greater good. And it's a thing of, they knew the horde was coming. They should have backed out.
It's not like a hurricane. They don't have 3 days warning.
They had like a day.
You know what warning they had? They saw the refugees coming up the road. They're like, that's bad. We should leave.
It's like a week's journey. They would have had time. I don't think he should have done it. What's he going to do? Get a couple people out? Where are they going to go? There's no plan for this. There's no order to this. Most of them fled Ferelden. They got the hell out of there. Most of them went to Kirkwall, including a certain Lothering refugee named Huck.
All right. That's about all the time we have.
Tell us who won.
Was Loghain right or was he wrong?
Oh, man.
You decide.
You decide. Thank you very much for watching. You want to say something?
No,
you look like you want to say. You say goodbye to them.
Okay. Bye. Subscribe.